Well, hello, everybody. Happy Monday, February 1st, 2021. I'm Perrin Lovett, and this is the Prepper Post News, courtesy of Freedom Prepper. And I'd like to say hello to everybody at Freedom Prepper and the YouTube channel and everybody listening to the podcast. Also, something we're toying with. Some of you may remember several years ago, we had freedompreppernews.com. Just news story links about prepping items, a lot of gun stuff. That is kind of making an experimental comeback. So the media family is growing, and we may start linking up these videos or podcasts over there as well. Hello to everybody at the community. Hello everybody everywhere. And this is I had so much stuff I had to cut out, and I've got to push some stuff to tomorrow and maybe Wednesday. Let's just get right into this. I was lucky. I found this story to kind of kick things off and give us a starting point. One of the most astounding articles I've ever seen, and I kind of make a study of this particular subject. It's about the U.S. economy, which is completely and totally wrecked. Some people talk about the Great Reset. Of course, if we mention it, it's a conspiracy theory, and we're bad for mentioning it. But we need a reset, a great big reset, because I've got a link to a story from Vox Day, who comments on an article by Charles Hugh Smith, which is also indirectly linked up. And this is what Smith starts off with. The great American middle class has stood meekly by while the new nobility strip mined $50 trillion from the middle and working classes. As this Rand Corporation report documents, $50 trillion has been siphoned from labor and the lower 90% of the workforce by the elites and their technocratic lackeys who own the vast majority of the capital. And he's got trends in income from 1975 to 2018. In 43 years, they took $50 trillion. And, something happened in between today and back to 2018. It would not surprise me at all if the number now stood at 60 or 70 trillion, or if it was even closer to 100 trillion. You could basically say they've taken everything away. And this is the price of fake money and financialization and usury. Whereby the people who create the fake money suck all the real value away and leave everybody else holding worthless debts that they can slave over all their lives to pay back. And this kind of segues into a couple of more recent stories. I saw something in the Houston Chronicle. I think this was also in the Washington Post. 2020 was the worst year for economic growth since World War II. In fact, the entire year was a contraction of several percentage points. And remember, all these stats and numbers are rigged. So, 2020 to a lot of people looked like a complete collapse. I wonder what it was. I wonder how you get people who have lost everything, and then you stop them from working, and how anybody sees a contraction from that. And I leave this part off, but it occurred to me that all of these stimulus payments that Trump and now Biden, Trump made them and Biden is pushing more, $600 here, $1,200 there, $1,000, whatever they're going to give you, it's becoming a regular thing. 20 years ago, Bush did the first, pre-bate. You're going to get your tax refund early, even if everybody gets one, no matter what. I think it was, $300. Before that, we'd never had anything, no direct payments like this. And now it's becoming almost a monthly thing. starting to resemble universal basic income, which, you know, in a rigged system, you might have to pay that to avert people from, you know, revolting under the system. And it appears that some people have found a way to do that anyway. You must have heard by now about the GameStop stock mania. And it's interesting that, you know, GameStop is some kind of retail video game store. What it appears happened was that a group of Redditors on the Reddit social media site dedicated to gaming, these would be computer techie types, very smart people, they figured out the game of shorting stocks. And somewhere in here I've got, Carl Thornburg wrote a funny short article at UNS. I've got that linked up, explaining what the shorting is, if you're not familiar. Basically, it's just a gamble. It's just gambling on the future price of a stock. This is something that the hedge funds do every day. The rich do it. It's one more of the mechanisms they use to siphon off the wealth from everybody else. And all of these little people on Reddit discovered, you know, these are people that play games. They love games. They design games. They know how systems work. They figured this out, and they ran a game, and they used GameStop as their ticket. And you know, by running the shorts market, they clawed back some of that wealth from the hedge funds and the elites and Wall Street. And all of a sudden, I've got two CNBC stories about this phenomenon. All of a sudden, this gambling became a problem, to the point that the stock brokerage firms stopped trading that and other stocks. They said it was to protect the retail investors. In other words, to protect the big guys that suddenly were losing money for the first time ever. And there were people that ordinary people became instant millionaires last week, and it had quite the effect on the entire, not just the Nasdaq, but the New York Stock Exchange as well. I think at some point we were down below 30,000 on the Dow at the close last week. The SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, is already looking into it. They say they want to protect the real criminals who do this all the time, and there's no problem with it until there is a problem, and then they get a bailout. But they want to protect the real criminals from all these, and it's, you can't make this stuff up. The main trading site they were going through is Robinhood. All of these Robinhoods were taking a little bit back, a little bit of the money that was stolen by the nobility, taking it back. And now they're getting investigated. And I'm sure the FBI is right behind the SEC. And you can look for people to get arrested and go to jail for doing this, for doing exactly what the super rich have been doing freely for 100 years now. Not just freely, but with the blessing of the government and the heavy hand behind them, if necessary, to back them up and bail them out. Because remember, they're too big to fail. And this, if nothing else, it was hilarious, and it pointed up the fact that the markets, kind of like everything else in this country, the markets are rigged, everything is fake, all the value is fake, the money is fake, and the more this stuff gets exposed, the better off everybody will be. And I left a lot of stuff out, like I said, but there are a lot of people, a lot of insiders, honest insiders, commenting on the fact that there is, in the commodities market, stock market, there's no safe, honest venue for saving your money anymore. And a lot of these people are concerned about a systemic collapse, and they're also concerned about getting out while they still can with some integrity. So pay attention to all of this stuff. Let's move on to a different kind of hoax and fraud. The massive fraud in the presidential election of 2016, not the 2020 election. You'll recall that we were told over and over and over again that There was no evidence whatsoever of any kind of wrongdoing in the historic 2020 presidential election. There were some little boxes that ran under any video on YouTube. And by the way, YouTube has gone as far as deleting congressional testimony if it crosses their narrative. I think that was on the coronavirus. They didn't like what some doctors were telling the Senate under oath. But anyway, they don't want anybody discussing the 2020 election because there was no fraud in it whatsoever. There was, according to the so-called United States Department of Justice, fraud in the 2016 presidential election. And all of a sudden now they've caught it and they've pressed charges against this guy, Ricky Vaughn. Not his real name, but he was a alt-right memer on Twitter or one of the socials. I either didn't know about this guy or I had totally forgotten about him. But he made some memes, had a little fun with the election cycle 4 years ago, and now he's going to go to jail for making a meme. This is what the U.S. Attorney's Office said in a press release. A Florida man was arrested this morning on charges of conspiring with others in advance of the 2016 U.S. presidential election to use various social media platforms to disseminate misinformation designed to deprive individuals of their constitutional rights to vote. And I've got a copy at freedomprepper.com, a copy of the complaint linked up. He conspired with others. They have a theory that these people conspired. It's literally a conspiracy theory. Your conspiracy theories are utterly insane and there's no evidence to back them up. Theirs are codified in the law. And most federal crimes are presented as a conspiracy anyway because it's easier. It lets them just make stuff up. The way they did in this crazy complaint, one of the stupidest things I have ever heard of, Donald Trump Jr. was making fun of it, and he should. But this is also one of the most troubling cases that I've seen in a while. It's certainly not the most troubling, but the same people that tell you there's no fraud whatsoever in one election will back up 4 years and make up fraud that didn't exist in the previous one. And this was brought was this Thursday or Friday? Friday. This complaint was brought. Why does the light look so funny in here? Maybe I'm going blind. Anyway, this was not just drawn up and presented immediately after Joe Biden's election. This had been ongoing for quite some time. So it's interesting to see how something that might resemble, I don't know, a deep state just keeps operating no matter who's in office. And they keep doing stuff like this. We used to have something called the First Amendment that protected, among other things, freedom of speech. If this goes through, let's just be honest. The law is dead. The law is whatever they say it is, and they have the guns to back it up. This particular law, the only one he's charged with, this conspiracy theory, is Title 18 USC 241. And I believe they're going under Section A. Section B has to do with masked highwaymen upon the highway. It's a 1940s law. 1948, I believe, was. It looks so dark in here. Anyway, here's the. I think this is the relevant charging part. If two or more persons conspire to injure, oppress, threaten, or intimidate any person in any state, territory, commonwealth, possession, or district in the exercise or enjoyment of any right or privilege secured to him by the Constitution or laws of the United States, or because of his having exercised the same, you can be guilty of a felony, go to prison for 10 years. Conspire, two or more persons, and I believe I read the Ricky Vaughn complaint, and the other persons, there's got to be at least one more for a conspiracy charge. They say people known and unknown, and they don't name anybody yet. So I think we're going off of unknown John Does, which to me don't seem like real persons. You can't have two. How could there be a conspiracy? And also, you've got to injure or attempt to injure a person. And what Vaughn did, what his alt-right gaggle of keckers or whatever on Gab or Twitter did was just make little memes. You know the old joke, Democrats vote on Tuesday, Republicans vote on Wednesday. Trying to, it's rhetoric, a joke. It's a practical joke, a prank, and only a complete and total fool could possibly fall for it. People that we don't need voting anyway. They made up little memes, little fake ads they put out. They said, hey, you can vote by text. And the trend is, vote online, vote on a touchscreen, mail-in ballots, no ID. You can vote after you're dead. You can vote in 5 states, vote 100 times. Why not vote by text? I mean, that's probably coming next. It'll probably be, our laws guarantee safe elections via text, but not when he does it as a joke. And they're saying that this deprived people of their right to vote. Well, does he not have a right to? And yeah, I know about the campaign laws. Justice Scalia warned us about the encroachment on everything. But anyway, they're not going to be able to present the first person who they can prove lost any right. In a previous age, I would have been optimistic that this case would have been dismissed, or that he'd be exonerated. Odds are he's going to take a plea deal, and odds are there's going to be a lot more of this utter insanity, more of these government conspiracy theories. So I guess everybody up there in the DOJ has their tinfoil hats on real tight. Keep an eye on that one. It's a stupid case in and of itself, but it's symbolic of something just much worse. And much worse is unfolding over in Switzerland right now. Last week, end of the week, I ran a story about the Davos group, the World Economic Forum. I didn't even realize that they were having their 2021 powwow right now, this weekend. And I found I've got a link to that, and all of the fun things that these elites, these are the people that have siphoned off $50 trillion just out of the United States, just in my lifetime. They just take a look at it. They're on every subject imaginable. For instance, they've got a program about reimagining education. Of course, they paint it in terms of recovering from the pandemic. All these schools that weren't educating kids anyway had to close. So here's what they want to do. From global citizenship to digital skills, what policies, practices, and partnerships are needed to elevate future-ready employability skills on the education agenda? What? Global citizens and employability skills? If they're talking about trade schools, fine. But they're talking about K through 12. They don't want children to learn that, they don't want them to learn to read, write, think critically, God forbid. They just want good little worker bees who will, run the factories and shuffle the paper around until the robot takes over, and then everybody will get UBI and, hopefully be, hopefully most of us will just die off sooner or later. But they're working on this. They got leaders from all over the world working on this. The first part of the session is open to the public. You can click in and watch the video. The second part is just for them. That's where the agenda will be discussed. Take a look at this. If you want a good laugh, a good sorrowful laugh, take a look at this stuff. They're advancing a new social contract. They're placing gender parity at the heart of the recovery, and of course they're reimagining education. They want to reset education. They want to reset. It's going to be a great reset, but don't you dare notice, because if you notice, then you're a crazy conspiracy theorist, and you don't work for the DOJ. Let me wrap this up for the morning. The last word, 2 words: dignity and respect. Very important words, but I had noticed there's a certain phraseology that I keep noticing. I've had it people have told me this in person. I keep seeing it in different places, coming out of Christian literature, pseudo-Christian literature, worldly literature, and then the sheer stupidity of social media. I keep seeing it over and over. It's some form, some combination of everyone deserves dignity and respect. Everyone should be treated with dignity and respect. And a normal, kind, good person thinks, yeah, everybody should be treated with dignity and respect. But is that universal? Does everybody deserve the same dignity and respect? Does a usurer or a murderer or a child molester deserve the same dignity and respect that say a Sunday school teacher or a fireman gets? I don't think so. I think I sense churchianity in this, and I tried to do a little research on this, but there's just something new and odd about it. These words have been around for a long time. A lot of good people have used them. We should treat people with dignity and respect. Although, as Paul noted, sometimes, doing what's best for everybody doesn't necessarily look like doing what's best for everybody, but it is. Here's a story. Here's a story that I linked up from the Daily Mail to kind of illustrate this point. Creepy Joe, the president of the United States, lifted the ban on cross-dressers and transsexuals serving in the military. China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, they're shaking in their boots because they're scared of our cross-dressers, coming over with big, story. Can you imagine trying to fight a war against Drag Queen Story Hour? Watch out, Russia. There's at least one good Christian left in the U.S. Army. He's a major and a chaplain, and he took issue with this new policy. He said, "Look, from a moral or a psychological standpoint, these people are not fit to serve. This 40, 50 years ago was a diagnosed mental illness, and we don't need them." He's going to get canned. He's out. He's done. You can't tell the truth. From a Christian standpoint, certainly, from a medical standpoint, or just common sense standpoint. But where these magic words came in were in the attacks on him, and everybody jumped on. We had the Pentagon itself, I guess the Rainbow Command, issued some idiotic statement, and just a whole host of morons started tweeting. And in their insults of this guy, they one of them finished by saying, "Well, everyone should be treated with dignity and respect, except for this Christian." And that's how we know if it's churchian. A starting point would be, is it used as a slur against a real Christian? In this case, it was. Not a conspiracy theory, just a working theory. And I think we've worked up a great Monday. I had some other things. We'll get to those later in the week. Hope you're having a great day. And it's already February. And I got to work on the lights in here. I'll see you tomorrow. Happy Monday.